IELTS Speaking Lesson 2. In this lesson we're going to look at part 1 of the speaking test. So what do you need to know about IELTS Speaking part 1? First, the time. It lasts 4 to 5 minutes and the examiner has to control that time very strictly. So don't worry if you see the examiner looking at his or her watch. That's normal. How many questions are there? Well, usually 10 or 11 questions, and the examiner must ask all of those 10 or 11 questions within the 4 to 5 minutes. So they're going to be quite short, fast, easy questions. 3 topic areas will be covered in those 10 or 11 questions. The examiner will start with 2 or 3 questions about your work or your studies or where you live, and then they will move on to 4 questions about one short topic and another 4 questions about a second mini topic. So 2 or 3 introduction questions, then 4 on one topic, 4 on another. That's how it adds up to 10 or 11 questions. And this part of the test is supposed to be easy. I'll say more about that in a moment. Some things to remember about IELTS Speaking Part 1. First, I think your aim should be to try to show your fluency in this part of the test. I think that's the key in Speaking Part 1. Don't stop and think too much. That will be called a hesitation, and a hesitation is when your fluency stops. You stop and you're saying or you're not sure what to say, probably because you're thinking about vocabulary or grammar. My advice is don't worry about vocabulary or grammar in this part of the test. Of course, we don't want to make grammar mistakes, but my point is don't try to show off your best language. You don't need difficult vocabulary or complex grammar in this part of the test. It won't help you. Try to focus on fluency, so just say the first thing that comes into your head. Answer as quickly as you can, and don't worry about the quality of your ideas, just say something. So it's an easy warm-up. That's how I consider part 1 of the speaking test. It should be easy. You're not expected to show off with your best language in this part of the test. It's just like a warm-up to get you started. The questions will be short, fast and easy, and your answers should be as well. So just give short, simple answers. And remember, you can't get a high score from part 1 of the speaking test. This is a warm-up really, and if you want to show off your best language and get a high score, you should be worrying more about parts 2 and 3. Just get through part 1 with short, simple answers without too many hesitations, and then we can worry about language when we study parts 2 and 3. What's the best technique for IELTS Speaking Part 1? It's easy. Answer the question, then give a reason. So it's 1, maybe 2 sentences, that's all. Give short, simple answers, but use full sentences. Never just give a one-word answer or a short phrase. Try to answer with a full sentence. Stop with confidence when you've finished your answer. That's very important. Sometimes people get nervous when there is a period of silence. Don't try to fill the silence with more answer. You'll only make mistakes and you won't have anything to say. That's a mistake that people often make. If the examiner leaves any silence, don't worry. Don't keep talking. Just smile at the examiner if necessary, as if to show, I've finished my answer, I'm ready for the next question. So stopping with confidence is a good skill to practice. Let's look next at topics for IELTS Speaking Part 1. A warning now, especially if you haven't done IELTS Speaking before, the topics in Part 1 can often seem childish. They seem like the kind of questions that you might ask a small child. For example, what's your favourite colour? Now this isn't an academic question at all, is it? But that's a real question from IELTS Speaking Part 1. Don't be worried or don't panic if you get a question like this in your test. Just follow the technique, give an answer and a reason, and you'll be fine. So here's my example answer. My favourite colour is blue because it's the colour of the sky on a nice day. I give a direct answer in a full sentence and I give a reason. So don't be worried about these strange childish topics, just prepare for them and be ready for them and follow the technique. A good way to prepare for these strange topics that you might ask children is to practice do you like questions. For example, test yourself. Can you answer this question quickly? Do you like games? So say yes, I like games because, or no, I don't really like games because. Practice answering that. Another example, do you like walking? That was a real exam question in IELTS speaking. Do you like gardens? Some people were surprised by that question in their test, but just follow the technique. Even if you've never thought about this before, yes, I like gardens because they're nice places to relax. I like nature. I like being surrounded by plants and flowers. Anything like that is fine. Another example, do you like flowers? That was a real question. What would you say if you had that question in your test? Simple answer, give a reason. Final example, do you like dancing? So practice these do you like questions. Test yourself. Can you answer them quickly? And remember, you can give negative answers. You can say, no, I've never been much of a dancer. I don't really like dancing, but I understand that other people do because it seems like fun. Now let's do a full example of a Speaking Part 1 section with all 10 or 11 questions and 3 topic areas covered. So the first of those 3 topic areas is the short introduction, 2 or 3 introduction questions. And the most common of these introduction questions is this one. Do you work or are you a student? Short, simple answer. For example, I'm a qualified doctor, but at the moment I'm studying English. So you can tell the truth. If you work and study, just say that, it's fine. And then another introduction question following on from that. Do you enjoy your job or studies? Yes, I love working as a doctor because I like helping people, but I'm not enjoying studying English so much. And third question, would you like to get a different job in the future? No, I'm really happy with the career that I've chosen, so I have no plans to change jobs. So you've seen I've given those short, simple answers, sometimes with a reason, sometimes with a bit of extra information. Full sentences, and stop at the end confidently. That answer is finished. After those 3 introduction questions, we go on to 4 questions about one small topic area. And the examiner will say something like this, for example, let's talk about sport. Now let's talk about sport. So the examiner is introducing this mini topic of sport, and you'll get probably 4 questions about it. Now I'm going to put these questions on the video on the screen now, and you'll see them one by one. I'm not going to answer them. You can stop the video, pause the video, and try to answer. That would be a good way to practice. See if you can answer these questions by pausing the video and speaking aloud. You can check my sample answers on the worksheet attached next to this video. So here we go with the 4 questions about sport. Do you like sport? Do you think it's better to watch sports or play them yourself? Why do you think some sports are so popular? Do you think children should all have to do sports at school? So those are the 4 questions about sport, and then we go on to 4 questions about a second mini topic. For example, now let's talk about colours. What's your favourite colour and why? Do different colours have different meanings in your country? Do you think that colours can affect the way people feel? Do you wear different coloured clothes now compared to when you were a child? And that's the 4 questions about that topic finished. So you've seen all 11 in this case, 11 questions from Speaking Part 1. You've got a chance to practice those. Remember, short, simple answers, Don't worry about vocabulary and grammar. Try not to hesitate. Try to work on your fluency. And if you practice these, you can become really good at speaking part 1. Remember that you can print the worksheet attached next to this video lesson to see my example answers about those 2 topics in the 8 questions that we've just done. In the next lesson, we'll move on to speaking part 2.